Magnus Carlsen versus Fabiano Caruana in set 1 of the Champions Chess Tour semi-finals did not disappoint. We had 5 decisive games. Now the first 4 were split 2 apiece. That took it to an Armageddon game here. Magnus with black. He only needs to draw, so after these first couple of moves, you can see he's way down on time, but he's got the draw odds. A draw equals a win for Magnus. Fabi therefore must throw everything at Magnus here, and this game is truly fantastic. So we get knight f3 and e6. Now why is Magnus playing this aggressive Sicilian? Not just a Sicilian, but a Khan variation. The Wrath of Khan, as Hikaru calls it. Very risky and double-edged. Why would you do this in a must-draw game? Well, Magnus wants a fight. He wants to try and burn Fabi's clock. He knows he should technically be the stronger fast play player. But okay, still risky. Queen c7, the standard move. Bishop d3 develops, knight f6, queen e2, d6, and now Fabi does not hang about. His next 5 moves are these very aggressive pawn pushes. So knight bd7 played. We get g4 on the board. g5, a big threat. So this knight scrambles into c5, clears some space for this one to retreat after g5, and now a4, Fabi playing on both sides of the board, clamping on b5, bishop e7 develops, and h4. Look at the aggression here from Fabi. Love it. And this pawn structure is known as the bayonet, because this is the pointy end over here. You're going to stab someone using those couple of pawns. So b6 now from Magnus. He carries on development. Bishop e3 from Fabi, bishop b7, and now h5, more aggression. Rook c8 from Magnus. You know, where does he put his king here? It's such a big attack coming. And after rook g1, top move, g6, a big threat. Magnus now decides he's got to take action on the king side, and he pushes that g-pawn. And what does Fabi do? Slides back with the rook. Classy, classy chess here. Now this big attack is coming on the flank, so Magnus here, he looks for counterplay in the centre. Bang, e5, very thematic break. It is a good move here, but white still with a very decent advantage, as you can see. You know, lots of space, big attack. Now what to do? Well, Fabi starts with this pawn takes on g6. It is the best move, and this is the idea. If you pick up the free piece, well, the bishop recaptures, you're hitting this rook, and how do you even save it? You know, you can't intercept, there's a pawn covering. If rook g8 or something, then you run into this. The pawn's going to queen. It's just no good. So you have to recapture. Of course, with the f pawn, there's a pin down here. You can't go with the h. And now Fabi, he just misses a shot here to create chaos on the board. What should he have done? Top move, well, it's pawn f5, but it's a piece sacrifice, so it's risky. Now this time, you don't have to move that rook. You can go knight e5. This is the difference in the variation. And therefore, white has to take here, and it gets very complicated. Taking with the knight, not good, because the bishop can capture. This one collapses, and the entire king side is collapsing just for the sake of an exchange. Really good for white. But running it back here, after captures, you're not obliged to take with the knight. So for example, you can take here with check. Game goes on, you know, bishop f8 is one option move, covering this square, opening the queen to help defense. Okay, that was the way to go to mix things up. But Fabi misses it, he drops back with the knight to f3, and just like that, we see a swing of a pawn and a half. Black now doing well, so we get takes on f4. The bishop recaptures, and after takes here with check, not only is Magnus getting pieces off the board, but he's freed up this amazing e5 outpost, and he lands his steed on that central square. So what should Fabi do? Well, the computer wants to take more pieces off the board to keep it level, but of course Fabi has to win, so he drops back. He's trying to keep pieces on, maybe head in this direction, but after Magnus castles, very brave move, you know, potentially walking into an attack, he does generate counterplay, and therefore knight d4 comes. Instead, this one using the square, looking for knight e6, forking these two. So queen d7 played to cover the threat, and now a very double-edged move from Fabi, but he's got to try and mix it up. So he castles queenside, connects his rook. Now he's sacrificing a pawn here if Magnus wants to take. This knight's actually pinned to the king, of course. But an even stronger move, which Magnus finds, is pawn to b5. Because you're instantly attacking, threatening b4, and king b1's actually best to keep the a file closed. But Fabi takes, pawn recaptures, then goes king b1, b4, and now there's ideas of using this a file for Magnus as well. Very dangerous. Now if you hop forward, which Fabi didn't play, well, the problem is bishop recaptures, you shatter the pawn structure, and this is just a monster defensive piece. Open lines here for the rooks, a file attack coming as well. You know, it's great for Magnus. So instead, Fabi drops back to a2. He's looking to use that one in defense and turn his attention to the black king. But again, Magnus finding top moves here. He plows forward with pawn d5, opens this bishop to defend, and puts this center under fire. What to do? Well, it's such a tough position now to mix things up. Everything's crumbling. So Fabi going for it now. He takes on h7 with the rook. Great practical chance to mix it up here. Now the king recaptures, and queen h2 check is the follow-up. The king steps to g8, and now you don't take this knight, or then you run into bishop d6. The queen doesn't actually have squares except e6, but then pieces come off. Magnus doing great. He's an exchange ahead here, no issues. And therefore, instead of this, we get rook h1. Threatening mate in 1 here. You know, you can give a check here, but you don't want the king to escape. So bishop d6, only move. The queen now covers this square. Plus, you line up these things here. So how does Fabi continue this attack? It's not easy. He goes for bishop f4, pressuring this piece, still setting up crazy ideas, and now Magnus comes up with this absolute stroke of genius. You know, why not play the top engine move here, which is takes on e4? Well, the computer says you're killing it, but you allow this sort of stuff. And then pawn takes here. This is the second top engine move. We'll run with it, right? Or the top engine move for the second move you have to play. Now, what should you do here? Well, check is dangerous. You drive the king up. You can check again. Even though black is completely winning, look at this check. I mean, how crazy and dangerous does this look? Your bishop drops, your king's open, the rook could join the attack soon, but the computer just says, yep, d2, no worries, it's like minus 15, black just crushing it, but what human wants to go in for this? So, what does Magnus do? Well, queen g7, fantastic resource in the position. This is called a blunder by the engine. But is it actually a stroke of genius when you only need to draw? Because after knight e6, which Fabi plays, forking those pieces, if the queen moves somewhere bad, then this stuff's coming down here and so on. But this is what Magnus has planned, the brilliancy of knight to f3. He counterattacks on this queen. Now, I won't show what happens if takes and takes because we see it in the game. But what if you just step away from this attack to h3, hit the knight, keep the pressure down here, force this queen to move? Well, actually the queen does not move. It sacrifices itself. You take on f4 here. You can go with rook or bishop, but the point is you remove the defender of d2, whoops, the d2 square. After you sap the queen, then you land this check. The rook cuts the c-file, so you get this seesaw yo-yo effect. That is a perpetual check. This knight woeful, stopping the king escaping, and that would be a draw. Therefore, these are the problems in the air. So what does Fabi do? Well, he goes in for this queen captures. He's got to try something. Knight takes here, bishop takes on d6, but Magnus now starts hoovering pieces off the board. We get knight recaptures. And now, if you save your knight here, which Fabi didn't play, again, the problem is the perpetual check. It's just a draw. So what we see instead is bishop takes on b4, covering this square. But now king takes. Magnus is a full rook up. These were the final moves. We get these ones here. Bishop takes with check, knight e3, and Fabi resigns. There's just way too much time left on Magnus's clock. He's a rook up. So Magnus took this set, set 1, in the Armageddon. They go to set 2, being played today. I'll look to get a recap up Friday. I am busy later, unfortunately. I hope you enjoyed. Check out the video on screen for another epic game. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks a lot for watching. Cheers.